Fox 10 News is back.
A man is arrested in Yavapai County for threatening his ex-wife and law enforcement with a gun. Deputies say 27-year-old Kyle Baumgartner was arguing with her about the best school for their child and forced the weapon under her chin and then fled the village of Oak Creek with their 5-year-old son. Deputies found him within an hour. He's facing charges of assault, endangerment, and child abuse. Phoenix Mercury star Brittany Griner has been in a Russian prison for more than 100 days now, but she hasn't been forgotten by the NBA. Some players on the Boston Celtics are wearing practice T-shirts that read, "We are BG," a way to show support and demand that she be released. Griner is being held on drug charges. By the way, the best-of-7 series in the NBA is now tied at 1 game each. Gunfire today in Chicago. A police officer and suspect were hurt after shots were fired this afternoon. The officer is in stable condition, the suspect in critical condition, and it all started with a traffic stop.
The offender got out of the car and began firing at the officers, and there was an exchange of gunfire. The officer was struck twice, once in the arm, once in the torso. The offender was struck as well, and the offender is in critical condition, and the officer is in serious but stable condition.
The chief went on to say that it's Chicago's third shooting of an officer in the past week. 2 more mass shootings in the past 24 hours, 3 dead in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and 3 others killed after a shooting in Philadelphia. Both happened in popular entertainment areas. Alexis McAdams has the latest.
Philadelphia police say multiple people were shooting into this large crowd. Detectives finding at least 5 guns at the crime scene. This is where that shooting happened, in the South Street neighborhood there. Just before midnight, at least 14 people were shot and 3 of those people were killed. That's when they say a Philly cop pulled out his gun and tried to take down one of those shooters. The normally busy strip now a crime scene as investigators work to track down these shooters.
There were hundreds of individuals out there last night. And I'm asking the public that if any of these people, anyone who was out there, saw anything, witnessed anything immediately before, during, or after, to please call or text our tip line at 215-686-TIPS.
Now we're learning about another mass shooting that also happened overnight, that one in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Investigators saying 3 people were killed and at least 17 others were hurt during a shooting near a bar downtown. They say some people were also struck by a car that was fleeing the scene.
There's definitely more than one shooter, so I don't want to confirm the exact amount, but there looks like there will be multiple shooters.
At this time, no arrests have yet been made in either case. The Philadelphia Police Department offering a $20,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest. Anyone with information asked to call police. In New York, I'm Alexis McAdams, Fox News.
New details tonight after a Wisconsin judge is killed in his own home. Officials say 56-year-old Douglas Eude made a hit list of politicians he wanted to kill. It includes Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and the governors of Wisconsin and Michigan. It was found after Judge John Romer's death and after the suspect critically wounded himself.
It makes me feel ill that somebody that devoted his life, or a good share of his life, being a jurist in the state, in rural Wisconsin, and that's hard work, to be targeted like that. It makes me, frankly, sick to my stomach.
Court records show the judge sentenced Eude to 6 years in prison for armed robbery back in 2005. Congress may be making progress on a new gun bill to address gun violence in America. The House Judiciary Committee advanced a package of 6 bills last week. They are called the Protecting Our Kids Act, aimed at reforming gun laws. It is unlikely to get a Senate vote due to GOP opposition. The GOP calls it government overreach that would affect law-abiding citizens. But Democrats are charging forward anyway.
Significant mental health investment, some school safety money, and some modest but impactful changes in gun laws. That's the kind of package we're putting together right now. That's the kind of package I think can pass the Senate.
It is unclear if or when the two sides might reach a compromise. A House committee investigating the insurrection at the Capitol is going public with its findings in a series of meetings beginning this week. Lawmakers say it will lay out step by step how former President Trump and his allies worked to overturn the 2020 presidential election. A series of witnesses are expected to come forward as well. There will be a total of 6 hearings starting this Thursday, June 9th. The Supreme Court is back in session tomorrow with some big decisions on the docket, but none bigger than abortion and if Roe versus Wade will be overturned. Alexandria Hoff has a preview.
The court is due to issue opinions starting tomorrow and will do so until the term closes at the end of the month. There are over 30 total, one being the standout abortion rights case Dobbs v. Jackson's Women's Health. A draft opinion by Justice Alito that was leaked last month created a firestorm for the court as protesters saw this as an indication that nationwide access to abortion under Roe v. Wade was set to be undone. While it's not exactly clear when an opinion on that will be issued, the investigation into the source of the leak is heating up. Here's former Department of Justice prosecutor James Trusty.
Going to the 36 or so law clerks and saying, we want to see your cell phones, we want to see your emails, any of that type of activity. I would actually hope that in light of what a historic, immoral moment we had with the Supreme Court leak, that they would be the first ones to line up and say, what do you need to look at? Let's get this over with.
2 immigration cases are also set to be decided on, one being whether the Biden administration is able to do away with the Trump-era Remain in Mexico policy. The other asylum-related case questions whether states should be allowed to intervene and defend a rule if the federal government does not. The Supreme Court will also tackle gun rights and will issue an opinion on whether law-abiding gun owners have the right to carry a loaded handgun without having to prove to a state that they have a special need to be armed. A religious liberty case is up for decision too. This surrounds a high school football coach who was fired after he was seen praying. Now, once all these opinions are issued and the term ends, Justice Stephen Breyer plans to retire. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson will then be sworn in as his replacement. In Washington, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
Abbott Nutrition, one of the nation's top baby formula brands, has restarted operations at its plant in Michigan. It had been closed for months after contamination concerns. Abbott says its priority now is to make specialty formula for kids with allergies and medical problems. And another 8 million bottles from overseas is expected to arrive in America this week.
We're talking about the sole source of nutrition for arguably our most vulnerable consumer. And so from that perspective, a crisis like this in the biggest consumer economy in the world should never happen.
The FDA says Abbott's products will undergo additional testing before being released to the public. The first batch should arrive in stores later this month. Well, you may not know her name, but you have definitely seen her picture. Ann Turner Cook, the original Gerber baby, has died. She was 5 months old when a neighbor drew that now famous sketch to make her the original Gerber baby. She then grew up to be an English teacher in Florida. Her family says after that, she continued working as a mystery writer and remained an avid reader.
You know, she just had a very soft, gentle way about her. She instilled the love of reading in me more than any teacher before her or any professor after her.
It was just wonderful to have a parent at that age and still be so engaged in everything. It was just, it was never a chore to visit her and spend time with her.
Cook once said, "There is nothing nicer than being a symbol for babies." She was 95 years old. Still to come, a Valley Flower Company is helping sick children blossom again. We'll tell you how they do it, one flower at a time. And artifacts from the early digital era and beyond. We take a tour of the new computer museum after the break.